If you don't mind, please raise your hand if you have ever been to a country that doesn't use the language you speak. Okay, now keep your hand up if you had a problem in communicating with others because of the language barrier. Okay, thank you. For the people who didn't raise their hand, imagine you're traveling somewhere and you get lost on your way. You're trying to ask people for directions, but no one understands what you're saying. How would you feel, and what would you do? So, I'm a student living in the UAE, and I'm here to talk about various effects of translating languages and how the translator impacts people based on my experience in an international school. As a result of technological innovation, the technical knowledge that we humans have has advanced. The translator application is one of them. The word translation comes from the Latin word Translator, which means carrying or bring across. In this case, it stands for carrying text from one language to another. Translator applications have developed and developed over time, and now we can translate any words or sentences, even a long text, by taking a picture of it through a translator application. This innovation has impacted me a lot and still impacts a number of language learners in the world. When I first came to the UAE, which was about 3 years ago, I couldn't speak English well because I had never lived in a country other than Korea. In Korea, English is a required subject, just like most schools in the world, but the English curriculum is centrally focused on grammar and vocabulary. So I could read and write well, but not listen and speak. So I had problems trying to understand what teachers and classmates were saying to me. I found it really hard to communicate with them and understand what I was supposed to do. I felt really discouraged when I tried so hard just to make one sentence, but still, no one understood it. I was always sociable and confident in Korea. This then impacted my overall confidence, and I was very nervous when talking to others in English. I dare to say that my speaking and listening skills were worse than a 5-year-old native English speaker. But one day, one of my teachers asked me to use Google Translate. I didn't even know what Google Translate was because I had never used it before. But after that, my life changed. For example, I could finish my work much faster than before with less grammar mistakes. If the translator application was not invented, I would have spent lots of my time trying to translate every single word using a dictionary. Luckily, my teachers let me use a translator in class, so I use it literally every time I face difficulty in understanding. I always try to memorize the words I translated and try to talk and interact with people as much as I can. As you can see now, I can speak with confidence. The translator application brought back my confidence. This can happen to anyone when they're trying to learn or use a language which is not their first language or unfamiliar to them. The translator application gives them a chance to improve their skills. Okay, so now, let me explain how the translator impacts the international community rather than us individually. As you can see in the picture, this is an international conference hall. People in the picture are listening to a foreign speech using a translation headset. All the presidents in the world used to bring their interpreters to translate their opinion. But after the translation headset came out, many presidents started using a translation headset. You might be wondering, why they would use a translation headset rather than using an interpreter in such a crucial conference? Well, it's due to the fact that translations can be changed depending on the interpreter's perspective. Each country's president represents their country, which means their arguments need to be translated perfectly without any mistakes. Choosing the right word is extremely important in conference, and an international dispute could be caused if they choose an inappropriate word even though they didn't mean it. For instance, in July 1945, after the United States issued the Potsdam Declaration demanding the surrender of Japan in World War II, Japanese Prime Minister called a press conference and said, "No comment, we are still thinking about it." Unfortunately, the interpreter's translation was, "We are ignoring it in contempt." We all know what happened next. Translation headset gives them a chance to understand and convey their opinion exactly how they wanted to avoid disputes and arguments without human bias. So you might be wondering what all of this means. Well, this can just show you how such a little technological development can have a really big impact on someone's life. There still are some problems that translator can cause during the translation process. But if those problems are fixed by technological development, Then we'll be able to reach all audiences across the border. Nations and cultures can be connected like never before. This means the translator will become the key that makes us overcome the language barrier and unite the world into one. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.